Hey Nate,
Matthias?
people get in touch with us to ask if they can buy our culture in order to make their own kombucha. What's our reply to this?
Well, we used to give away lots of pieces of the culture, and basically we stopped doing that because it was kind of a bother and messy, and it just works so well to start one from a bottle of kombucha, which is so much easier. One little side note, when we talk about culture, this gets confusing because most people think a culture or a SCOBY or a mother is this piece that sits on top of a kombucha culture. And while that piece does contain all the bacteria and yeast that you need typically to start a new culture, a culture just means enough microbes and enough starting liquid to start a new fermentation. So a culture could also just be the liquid.
And what you were saying is that you don't actually need this, what is often called the SCOBY, the solid piece.
Yeah. And the right term for the solid piece, which we'll try to use, is pellicle, but nobody knows that term, so we acknowledge that. It's cellulose.
So you don't need that?
No, you don't need that. You need just the liquid. In fact, you can definitely use, and historically, traditionally, we've used that cellulosic pellicle as the culture, which we transfer.
Right.
But very important is also transferring some of the liquid, because you need to acidify that new medium when you add those microbes to give them the best chance of thriving.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, some people who've noticed that you don't need that cellulosic pellicle and then a new one will form each time, they now are in the habit of throwing it away. People think it's not good to have, and we disagree with that. We think actually it promotes a healthy, good, tasty fermentation to have that layer that forms on top as well.
All right. What about kombucha getting old? Is that still, can you still make kombucha with something?
You mean if it's been, like, let's say, in a bottle in the fridge for a long time?
Yeah.
So we've definitely read on the internet, and people say all kinds of things on the internet, but one of the things people say is that it will die off over time. So that if you buy a bottle of store-bought kombucha, then that won't have what you need to start a good culture, because many of the important microbes have died off. And we just think there's no truth to this. This is pretty close to nonsense. We've certainly noticed, and many home brewers have noticed, that if you have a piece of that pellicle, a piece of that culture, and you put it in its liquid, you can leave that in the fridge for a very long time, months and months, and then start up a new culture again, and it works really well. And if you think about it, this must have happened many times in the history of kombucha. Kombucha is maybe a few thousand years old. Much of its history was in colder places like Russia, so obviously people have let it sit in its own liquid for a little bit longer. Otherwise, how could somebody have this magic culture of kombucha which has never been let sit for more than 1 or 2 weeks?
Right. Yeah. And so the last question then, I guess, for somebody who actually wants to go about make their own kombucha from a bottle of kombucha is, can you buy any kind of kombucha in the store?
Obviously, we know it works from ours, but we say any good or quality kombucha would work. And what do we mean by quality? We mean something that is live and whole brewed. So by live, we mean that it's not microfiltered, pasteurized, which some, particularly the largest brands, may do, and that it's whole brewed. So that means that you're not taking some very small amount of kombucha concentrate and adding sugar water to it. I would say most brands are live and whole brewed. Not necessarily the biggest ones, but most are.
Yeah.
And it could be like a way to test a little bit the quality of the kombucha you're buying. If you add it to some sweet tea, does it form a culture?
Yeah. That's true. So if somebody wants to know more about this, we do provide information on our webpage.
Yeah, so we have a little FAQ on just this topic, and then also a blog post where we go into a little more detail on this, and even get a little nerdy about what's a culture and what does it take, what conditions do you need to start a new culture.
Right. And last not least, we invite people to get in touch with us if they have questions. We are constrained a little bit by time, but we always are happy to receive questions, and we actually make an effort to answer as many as possible.
Yeah, and when we get a question more often like this one, we'll try and make a little video or an FAQ or a blog post about it.
Exactly. Good. Thanks for watching.
Thanks. Bye.